What's up, y'all? I'm back. eBay Predictions is back. We're here with another one. Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. I'm gonna be talking about the main card. It's a lot of great fights on this card. It's a really a good card. Prelims. There's some good fights on there. Lewis Payne versus Kamal Worthy. And I think Philip Lins versus Tanner Bozer. And is that it? Yeah. Those are the most notable fights I see on the card. Um, but obviously, I talk about main card fights um, for this. If you guys want to see my other predictions for the prelims, go follow me on Twitter. I got an Instagram for eBay predictions. Go follow that if y'all want. It's up to y'all. But yeah, man, let's get to the fights, man. Starting off the card, we got Aspen Ladd versus Sara McMann. This is a good fight, guys. I like it a lot. Um, it's an interesting one. Sara McMann, former silver medalist in wrestling. Uh, she's she, she's really good. She's coming off a win. I think, was it Lauren? No, it wasn't Lauren Murphy. It was some, I forgot the girl she beat, but she's coming off that. And then Aspen Ladd is also coming off a win versus Yana Kutsinskaya, which is really impressive. After coming off her loss to Jermaine, she looked really decent. I mean, this is a good fight. I think Aspen Ladd takes it in the wrestling, but not Aspen Ladd. Sara McMann takes it in the wrestling, but in the power, I'd probably give it to Aspen Ladd. I don't think Aspen Ladd is as technical as she can be, right? I understand a lot of people got a lot of high hopes for that girl, but I'm not that impressed with her. But the one thing that does impress me about that girl is her aggression, man. And she's super aggressive in there. She's just she's an aggressive girl, man. And I think she comes from a wrestling family. I don't know if she's ever wrestled. I know her. I follow her on Instagram. I think her brother wrestles. Um, she has this ability just to take it to another level that some other girls don't. Her, Macy Barber, are just really aggressive girls, man. And but this is a tough test for her against Sara McMann. Sara McMann is no joke. Sara McMann is gonna challenge her in the grappling. Aspen Ladd's always always he's gone forward and kind of takes girls downs and just dominate girls, right? So this is a tough one for her. I I I don't know about. I'm not a big fan of her, but one thing I will say, in that third round against Yana Kutsinskaya, it was a toss up, man. And the first two rounds were pretty close. We don't not sure who was winning the fight, but that girl was talking to her coach, and her coach got flack for it, but was motivating her and telling, you got to knock this bitch out. And she went up to her, fucking almost like she was in her stance, but she almost fucking ran to that girl and hit her with a really good 1-2 and knocked her out. That was It was impressive. I will say that was one thing that really impressed me about her, and kind of gave me some, I'm like, hope, because Sajara Eubanks is a flyweight, and before her fight against Durandamine, Aspinall fought Sajara Eubanks, and they went to war. You know, so I'm like, okay, I don't know about this girl. I don't know if she's that good. She's going to war with flyweights, but I will say the Yana Kutsinskaya that fight kind of gave me hope, and I'm like, you know what, this girl got some potential, but I'm gonna go with the vet. I think Sara McMann's gonna take this one. I think she's gonna use her wrestling, and I think she's gonna win this. Next fight is super interesting. Allen versus Kyle Ducros. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Both really good, man. I wasn't that familiar with Kyle. Then I looked up some of his fights. Looked at some highlights, and I'm like, I saw his contender series fight, and the kid, he's really tall, really lanky. Comes with a good combination to go forward and get the takedowns. Sets his takedowns up really well. Goes for the back, and does a lot of good things from there. Same thing with Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's a little different. Keeps his hands really high. Bobs and weaves. Throws really good hooks and goes for the takedown too. So you got two similar fighters, man. Brendan Allen, I saw him fight Kevin Holland, and I thought Kevin Holland was totally gonna beat this kid in school, and Brendan Allen really surprised me. He kind of was able to do something to Kevin Holland that a lot of guys can't do, and he was able to pressure him, and he was able to back him up, and he got him tired, and he believed in his grappling. You know, Kevin Holland's a good grappler, and I think he's a little underrated um, in what he's able to do. And Brendan was able to not only gas him out to the point, or hurt him to the point where Kevin Holland's going for takedowns. You know, he has a really good jiu-jitsu, but he's not like a takedown artist or whatever. He's kind of like, he kind of flows. Kevin's really good at you know, enjoying wherever the fight goes. You know, he's not tripping over that. But Brendan was able to really, you know, kind of force him to fight Brendan's fight. And after I seen that, man, that kid really impressed me, man. I hold Kevin Holland to a high standard, man. The kid's really good. You know, he pisses me off sometimes, but you know, there's certain things he could like fix in his game. But he's really, really good. You know, he fought fucking Thiago Santos to really, you know, good fight. He lost, but you know, he didn't make it easy for Thiago. He has a win over Jeff O'Neal, and we see what Jeff O'Neal is doing right now at welterweight. So I hold Kevin Holland to a high standard, and you know, Brendan really showed what he's made out of, and I think he trains with Duke. What's his name? Duke Rufus. So Rufus Sport. So I like his team. I like who he's surrounded by. The kid has some potential, and I think he's gonna get this one done. And you know, the kid keeps his hands up. So I like that about his game. Next fight, and I'm going Brendan Allen, by the way. But next fight, we got Maurice Greene versus Gian Villante, man. This is an interesting fight, man. Gian Villante is going up from light heavyweight um, to heavyweight. I think he was supposed to fight Ben Rothwell. I think that's what he was supposed to do. But and yeah, Maurice Greene, obviously coming off that loss to Alexei Olenek. So this is an interesting one. Gian Villante has wins over, you know, good, decent people like Corey Anderson and stuff like that. So, I don't know, man. It's a hard one for me to pick because I haven't been really impressed with either of these guys in their last two fights. Um, but I'm gonna go Gian Villante. I'm gonna assume that, you know, he had a good camp. He's gonna use his speed, and he's he's gonna use that to beat Maurice Greene. Um, now we reach to the co-main event. I Man, Mike Perry, bro, bro. I swear to God, man. Oh man. But next fight, let me give it. Mike Perry versus Mickey Gall. This is an interesting fight. Um, there's a lot of good things that Mike can do in there. He has really good boxing. Um, he's a brawler. Uh, he does a lot of good things in the striking department. He's willing to learn. He's always getting better. Um, but he has really low fight IQ. He's super talented. Like he was born to fight. You look at his physique. Um, you look at the way he fights. You look at his power. But the problem is he has his fight IQ has not improved. He does a lot of dumb things. When he fought Donald Cerrone, he did that to himself. You look at what he was able to do when he was pressuring Donald Cerrone. You know, Donald really covered up, but and it just didn't look like he was enjoying the the striking between those two. And you know, he kind of clinched up a little bit, but it didn't seem like he was gonna take down Mike Perry. But then Mike takes him down. I don't know why Mike did that. I don't know what he was trying to prove, and he gets fucking armbarred because of it. You know, Donald Cerrone has a really good underrated guard. Man, he has some pretty good triangles and arm bars, man, from bottom, man. He does a lot of good things. But it's like, you know, I really felt like Perry had a real power advantage in that fight, and he just didn't take advantage of what he's able to do. But I don't know, man. Perry, uh, he has wins over Alex Oliveira, um, Paul Felder. Um, who I'm thinking about somebody. I forgot the guy he beat. What is his name? God, it was a cool elbow finish too. I forgot his name. He's really really known. He was in the top 15. Oh man, I forgot his name. Man, let me search this up. Man, I can't be looking this crazy on the internet. What is this cat's name, bro? That's insane. Jake Ellenberger. Yeah, Jake Ellenberger. That was a good win for Perry. Um, but he does lose. He's lost to guys like Alan Joban, Santiago Ponzinibbio, um, Cerrone, Jeff O'Neal, Vicente Luque. He does lose quite a bit, but the thing is I see the potential in him, and he's he's like what a lower. I don't know where he's. I don't know the rankings for beyond 15, but he's like what? He's a fringe top 15 guy that gets really close to getting ranked, but then just finds a way to lose. I don't get it with Mike, man. Mike, his last fight against Jeff O'Neal, man, I really believed he was gonna win that fight, and Jeff took him out quick. He took him out quick. I was so sad for Mike, man. But I don't know. Mike does a lot of good things. I thought Mike really improved when he went to Albuquerque, and trained with I forgot what the gym was called, but trains at John Jones camp. Holly Holm trains there. A lot of them cats train there. I thought he did really good over there, and I seen real improvement in his striking. But yeah, I don't know, man. Mike is an interesting guy. He's a fun guy to watch. At the end of the day, I think he's always gonna have a job because it's must-watch TV. But he's fighting a guy named Mickey Gall. Um, Mickey uh, is really young in his career. He's most famous for submitting CM Punk, the pro wrestler. Um, Mickey does a lot of good things, but also has a ways to go. I guess his most famous loss, I'd say, is to Diego Sanchez. This is when Diego Sanchez had a good coach, or had a good squad behind him. I think I think yeah, Jackson Wink or whatever. He had I think that was the name of the gym. Um, he had some good guys behind him, but the thing with Diego, man, it was really evident in that fight that he had a real wrestling advantage, and he obviously had a really good jiu-jitsu in his black belt, but the wrestling advantage was there and the wrestling pressure. And I think Diego's a former high school wrestler. I don't know what Mickey Gold's background is in terms of wrestling, and I don't think wrestling is the end all be all in MMA. But as a jiu-jitsu guy, he needs to. It's almost like he needs to dominate grappling positions. Just in particular in that fight, it felt like he wanted to dominate those positions. And when he dealt with adversity in that fight, I seen him quit. When Diego Sanchez gave him adversity in that fight, he really quit. But in his next fight, the one right after that, what was the guy's name? Let me find out. Man, Mickey Gall. Last fight. I forgot the cat's name. I want to give the guy a shout out. I think it was Salim Taroum. That one was a very close fight, in my opinion. But I will say one thing. When I saw him quit against, and I don't want to say he quit, gas out, whatever you want to say, against Diego, he goes fights this kid, Salim, and he dealt with the adversity, and it seemed like he really improved in his cardio, you know, and I was really impressed with that. So I give him credit for that. I will say that, for doing that in that fight. But it, it it's just one of those things. He has wins over Sage Northcutt, Mike Jackson. I think he lost to Randy Brown too, um, and he's beating some other decent guys. But Mickey just, man, I just want him training all the time because he has a lot of catch up to do, man. Um, he's on the slow grind for me. Like he has a good frame for the division. I like his skills. I like his potential, you know, but I don't know, man. And he's surrounded with some decent people. Yves Edwards is a really smart guy in the game, and that's a really good guy to be surrounded by. But um, so this is an interesting fight. I'm gonna go with experience in this fight. I'm gonna go Mike Perry, um, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mickey Gall got him. At this point, it's like I don't know, man. With Mike, he's an interesting guy. He's an interesting guy. But next fight, the main fucking event. My boy Dan Hooker versus nothing but straight inspirational hard work Dustin Poirier. Um, I'm a big fan of both these guys, and this is an awesome, awesome fight. And let me talk about MMA Twitter, bro. Uh, I've seen a lot of interesting things on Twitter about this fight, and you got two really good guys. And usually, I don't like using this line because I think healthy debate is a good thing. But in this particular situation, why do we have to diminish one person to uplift another? Like I seen so I'm a Dan Hooker fan. You know, I'm a big fan of Dan, right? Ever since I see him fucking destroy hit what's it called? Rob Pearson with that Ross Pearson with that knee, man. I was like, yo, that kid is good, man. I'm a believer. But and I'm not the biggest fan of Dustin Poirier, but I'm not gonna attack this man's boxing, right? A lot of people were, saying Dustin Poirier is an elite level MMA boxer, and he is. But I've seen so many people, look at instances where he's not necessarily doing certain things, right? And they attack him for it. And they were saying, "Oh, this the elite MMA boxing?" And I guess he was swinging for the fences, in that little striking exchange he had with Khabib, and it is what it is. But here's one thing I will say, man. His run to the interim title is nothing but inspiration. His whole entire career is nothing but inspiration, man. When life hits you hard, he's one of those guys that got back up, you know? And you can't tell me you can't find inspiration on what this guy has accomplished, you know? Um, both guys, man, have uh, have have worked really hard. They're very similar in that point. I know a lot of people are calling Dan Hooker a hype train. I don't know if it's in relation to Israel Adesanya. With Izzy, his road to the title was a little pampered, a little easier. I will say that. But this kid, don't you can't compare him to Izzy. He really fought everyone. No, I wouldn't say every, but he's fought a lot of good young scrappers at lightweight to get to that top five position, man. At featherweight, he didn't do too well. But what's it? Ross Pearson, Jim Miller, Gilbert Burns, Mark Dukeski, uh, who else? James Vick, Ali Quinta, and Paul Felder. Those are just wins, but he fought the likes of Edson Barboza, man. And fucking got the shit beat out of him in that fight. But he's a hard worker, tough as nails, man. Um, Same thing with Dustin, man. After the Michael Johnson loss, man, man, if I'm a Dustin Poirier fan, that was a hard one to watch. That was a great knockout from Michael Johnson. But after that, he fought Jim Miller. I think Jim Miller. I think he fought Eddie Alvarez. Uh, I know Eddie. That one was like a DQ. That was a weird one. And then he fought Anthony Pettis. Um, right? And then was it Justin? I think it was Justin Gaethje. And then he fights Eddie Alvarez again in a rematch, beats him, and then fucking beats Eddie Al. Yeah, he beats Eddie Alvarez in a rematch, and then fights Max Holloway, beats him in another rematch. So the guy they've put in tremendous work in this division, and I think they're both really. This is an awesome fight. This is really high level kickboxing versus high level MMA boxing, right? So we're gonna see a lot of great things, man. Dustin comes with a really high guard. Um, he keeps his keeps his hands pretty high. Yeah, not as high as like a Brendan Allen or whatever, but he keeps it pretty high. Dan Hooker's the exact opposite. He keeps his hands really really low. He throws a lot of unpredictable shots. Has a really hard jab. Does a lot of good things with his knee. This is a good scrap. They both can win that fight. Um, if I'm looking at it, the way Dustin dips sometimes is he's susceptible to a knee. But Dustin has great pressure. I think Dustin should really look at that Paul Felder fight. Paul Felder kept a really high guard. Paul Felder fought completely different than when he fought Edson Barboza. He was loading up shots, and he was trying to use more power than speed. When Paul fought Dan, he used a lot of speed. I don't think he really tried to hit Dan as hard as he could, like he did in that Edson Barboza fight. But when he fought Dan, he peppered him a lot. He had a really good 1-2, pressured him. Never stopped pressuring him. I think that's if Dustin really wants to win that fight, I think that's how he's gonna do it, and he has to really use a lot of pressure. Dan, on the other hand, is I think he should really look for counters. And I will say one thing: I think Felder has a better chin, and well, his chin hasn't been rocked as hard as Dustin, and I think Dan should be really, or the way he might win, and I see it, is looking for that shot to knock him out with, and that's how I see the fight. Um, I see it. I see it going. I see a first round knockout with Dan Hooker, man. I'm going with my boy Dan, but Dustin is great, and if Dustin ends up winning, I won't be too surprised, and I won't be mad at all because you have to respect the guy's fucking work and his goddamn resume, you know? So, yeah, that is my prediction, guys. Like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I like interacting with you guys. And eBay predictions out.